The Galactic Concord Arena hung in orbit above the pale blue swirl of Helios 4 like a crown suspended over a jewel. Its multi-layered architecture, rings of alloy and crystalline towers, glowed with soft atmospheric halos. Countless species moved through its labyrinthine corridors, leaving trails of light behind them as translation drones flitted overhead like metallic insects. Everything here radiated power, age, and authority. Everything except comfort. Ambassador Alara Miles stepped out of the Terran shuttle into the temperature-balanced air with a calculated calm. Her diplomatic uniform, armored fabric woven with obsidian fibers, absorbed the ambient light, giving her an unintentional aura of gravity. She carried no visible weapon, yet the guards stationed at the docking bay instinctively shifted when she passed. A diplomat who moved like someone who had lived through real combat always unsettled soldiers. Her team kept formation behind her. They were efficient, silent, and, most importantly, aware of the tension. Whispers followed the humans as they advanced deeper into the station. The recent human victories had spread through the Helios cluster faster than any official channels could manage. Tales of a single Marine squad breaking a siege. Stories of reconnaissance teams dismantling entire Zyrak platoons using ambushes and improvised traps. Impressive to some. Infuriating to others. Rumors clung to the passages like smoke. Humans refuse honorable combat. They fight like predators. They strike from shadows. Alara pretended not to hear. Her focus was on the grand chamber ahead, where political storms would soon erupt. The doors opened with a hiss as the summit chamber revealed itself, an amphitheater carved from polished blackstone and anchored with gravatic pillars. Hundreds of delegates sat in spiral tiers, their holographic sigils floating above them. A hum of voices filled the space like restless static. At the far end, standing as if sculpted from volcanic rock, was General Vorkez Thalrun of the Zyrak Dominion. Alara had seen him only in dossiers. None of them prepared her for his real presence. Vorkez towered above most species, his scaled skin glistening like polished armor. Ritual scars formed symmetrical patterns over his chest plates, each mark a victory in battle, if his culture's traditions were true. His eyes burned with the same intensity as a plasma torch, and his posture radiated the confidence of a warrior raised to believe the galaxy owed him reverence. The moment Alara stepped into the chamber, he slammed the butt of his halberd against the floor. The echoes silenced the room. Humanity, Vorkez thundered, finally arrives to answer for its crimes. Alara approached the central podium. Her steps were unhurried. Her heartbeat steady. I was not aware, she said, that defending ourselves from unprovoked Zyrak aggression was considered a crime. A ripple passed through the gallery, shock, amusement, disapproval, all mixing together. Vorkez extended an accusing claw. You call ambush tactics honorable? You hide behind deception. You refuse ritual confrontation. You send small, dishonorable assassins to strike at true warriors. This is cowardice. Cowardice, Alara replied, is insisting on rituals that serve only pride while ignoring tactics that save lives. A few delegates nodded in cautious agreement. Most remained quiet. The Zyrak glared at those who dared show any sympathy toward the humans. Vorkez's voice rose in fury. Your kind destabilizes the balance of war. You refuse our terms. You refuse the ancient codes. You win battles by evading confrontation. We will not tolerate such dishonor. Alara held his gaze. You mean we refuse to fight the way you demand? Humanity does not measure worth by spectacle. His chest expanded with rage. Then we demand proof of your so-called worth. He pointed to his gathered warriors, towering, armored elites standing like a wall of blades. 500 of my finest soldiers challenge an equal human force to combat. Let the galaxy judge which species holds true courage. Gasps filled the room. Combat trials at this scale were rare, dangerous, and politically explosive. Even seasoned diplomats leaned forward, curious how the Terran representative would respond. Alara kept her voice level. Humanity does not participate in ceremonial blood sport. We reject your challenge. Vorkez's lips curled into a cruel smile. Of course you do. Fear has always been your true identity. Before Alara could respond, the chamber doors opened again. A single figure stepped through. Tall, broad-shouldered, calm as a stone in winter. His uniform marked him unmistakably: United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Marcus Hale. His presence drew immediate attention, not because of theatrics or bravado, but because he carried himself with a quiet certainty that unsettled even species bred for war. He approached Alara without breaking stride and stopped behind her with a small nod. Vorkez snarled. Another shadow soldier? Send him back to whatever hole you summoned him from. Alara raised her hand, just enough to silence the chamber. General, she said, you demand an equal force. Very well. Earth accepts your challenge. A hush fell. Alara gestured toward Hale. We send one. Silence cracked like frozen stone under a hammer. Delegates looked at each other, stunned into disbelief. Some choked on laughter, thinking it a joke. Others stared at the Marine with new unease, as if humanity had revealed a hidden weapon. Vorkez's voice dropped an octave, thick with insult. One? You mock the Dominion. You mock the Concord. You mock war itself. Alara's expression remained steady. 500, General, are unnecessary. 1 Marine is enough. Chaos erupted. Delegates stood from their seats, some shouting, others whispering frantic analyses. The idea was unthinkable. Absurd. Dangerous. Brilliant. Vorkez slammed his halberd again. Then humanity dies today! The chamber shook with the force of his roar. Alara didn't flinch. No, General. Today, humanity proves a point. Hale's eyes met hers briefly. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The universe had just shifted. The trial had been set. The stage prepared. And 1 Marine would walk into it alone. The uproar in the summit chamber still echoed in the corridors long after the delegates dispersed. Every species that had witnessed the exchange now carried fragments of the chaos like embers clinging to their cloaks. The accusation, the challenge, and the impossible answer, 1 Marine, spread across the Concord arena at the speed of rumor. Ambassador Alara Miles walked briskly through a series of private passageways reserved for high-risk diplomatic negotiations. Behind her, Sergeant Marcus Hale kept pace silently. His expression hadn't changed since the chamber erupted. He looked as calm as if he were moving between training drills. They entered a secure preparation suite, steel walls, holographic interfaces hovering in the air, a broad viewport revealing the arena dome where the trial would be held in 2 hours. The biomechanical landscape below shimmered with shifting terrain, canyons, ruined towers, treetop clusters, and metallic platforms rotating on magnetic rails. Designed for unpredictability. Designed to test tactics. Alara activated a privacy field. Sergeant, she said, turning toward Hale. You understand the political stakes? Yes, ma'am. His tone was level. Don't die. Don't take too long. Don't accidentally start a war. Despite herself, Alara allowed a faint smile. Close enough. She moved toward the viewport, studying the arena with narrowed eyes. The Zyrak want a spectacle. They want a traditional confrontation, lines clashing, banners raised. They expect you to fight the way they do. Hale folded his arms. Then they're already wrong. Exactly. But listen carefully. She faced him fully now. You're not here to slaughter them. You're here to show the galaxy that humans don't need mass to win. That we adapt. That we think. Hale nodded. Understood. Alara stepped closer. Her voice lowered. If you make them fear us too much, they'll unite against us. If you perform too poorly, the Concord will question our military integrity. You must walk a razor's edge, Sergeant. Hale met her gaze. With respect, ma'am, razor's edges are where Marines live. She exhaled slowly, tension easing. Good. As Hale began checking his gear, Alara observed the careful precision of his movements, fastening the modular plates of his exosuit, calibrating the visor interface, loading compact shock rounds and multi-purpose grenades, each tool designed for flexibility rather than ceremonial combat. Nothing ornate. Nothing theatrical. Just efficient, lethal engineering. Meanwhile, down on the lower decks, the Zyrak Dominion prepared like a holy procession. War drums reverberated through the tunnels leading to the arena. Hundreds of armored warriors stood in flawless formation, their bodies shimmering beneath glossy black plating etched with clan sigils. Their energy halberds hummed with a rising charge, glowing faintly with concentrated plasma. The air around them throbbed with determination and ritual fury. General Vorkes strode between them, inspecting each warrior with a predator's scrutiny. "You face a single human," he growled. "Do not mistake this for mercy. The Terrans mock us. Crush their arrogance." His battalion roared in unison, pounding their chests with steel-clad fists. Vorkes lifted his weapon high, absorbing their zeal like sustenance. Back in the preparation suite, a holographic indicator blinked to life. "Trial scheduled," Alara read aloud. 2 hours until commencement." Hale tightened his gloves. "Then I should walk the field." "Not yet." She stepped in front of him. "Marcus, listen to me. This arena is unpredictable. They'll expect you to take defensive positions. Break their expectations. Be unpredictable, but stay visible enough that the observers understand your skill. They need to see your control." He strapped his helmet to his gear harness rather than wearing it immediately. "I'll let them see just enough." Alara studied him with a mix of apprehension and confidence. "This isn't about egos. It's about preventing a war. Remember that." Hale gave a short nod. "Ma'am, I only need one target at a time. Everything else follows." She held his gaze for another moment, then turned away. "Go. Study the dome. I'll finalize diplomatic parameters." Hours later, the arena dome filled with spectators, diplomats, soldiers, strategists, civilians from dozens of worlds. Holographic screens suspended overhead displayed multiple angles of the terrain. Translucent barriers rose, sealing the dome with a resonant hum. When Hale stepped onto the entry platform, the arena erupted in murmurs. He walked with no theatrics, carrying only what he needed. A few species whispered, "He's too relaxed." Others muttered about human arrogance. Many stared, trying to decipher the confidence of the man who volunteered to face 500. On the opposite end, the Zyrak battalion entered as one living wave. Their synchronized stomp shook the entire dome. Their armor gleamed under the artificial sun, making them appear like a wall of obsidian blades. Vorkes himself stood at their forefront, towering and immovable. The announcer drone swept across the battlefield. "Combat trial commencing in 60 seconds. All weapons authorized. Combat ends upon incapacitation or surrender. Non-lethal victory acceptable. Begin when the signal sounds." Hale adjusted his strap, scanned the terrain, and breathed deeply. Everything felt calm. Focused. Exactly as he intended. The timer counted down on the holographic displays. In the diplomatic gallery high above, Alara leaned forward, hands clasped, eyes locked on the marine below. The last second blinked. A sharp horn blast split the air. The Zyrak battalion roared and surged forward in a tidal wave of armored bodies. Their formation gleamed with discipline, their steps thunderous, their intent unmistakable: overwhelm, dominate, crush. Hale didn't move. Not at first. He waited until the Zyrak crossed the threshold line he had calculated in advance. When the lead ranks reached optimal distance, he pulled a smoke grenade, activated it with a subtle twist, and dropped it at his feet. A thick plume expanded instantly, swallowing him. The Zyrak charge faltered for a fraction of a second. Not long, but enough. Hale had already vanished into the swirling clouds and slipped behind a cluster of metallic ruins. A Zyrak scout shouted, "He flees!" and rushed forward with 2 others. They found nothing but smoke. A thud echoed. One scout collapsed, unconscious before he hit the ground. Another spun wildly as his weapon clattered away. The last retreated in panic, shouting, "He moves like a ghost!" The arena murmured. Screens zoomed in on empty corridors where Hale had passed just moments before. High above, Alara whispered under her breath. Good. Show them how humans fight. Hale didn't pause. He planted sound decoys among the rocky slopes, scrambled up a rusted column, and fired a precise shock round that sent 3 more Zyrax sprawling. The battalion tried to reorganize, but their formation collapsed under the strain of unpredictable strikes, phantom movement, and psychological pressure. They searched for a pattern. Hale offered none. Every strike was measured. Every retreat calculated. In less than 15 minutes, dozens of Zyrax lay incapacitated. The arena, once roaring with certainty, now held a rising edge of fear. Even Vorka's eyes twitched in disbelief. And from the shadows of a shattered tower, Hale emerged in full view, standing calmly as 4 warriors advanced. Stand down, he said. They didn't. Seconds later, they hit the ground, disarmed and defeated. The audience fell silent. And Vorkaz realized something he had never considered. Humanity hadn't sent one Marine as a joke. They sent one Marine, because one was enough. The arena had fallen into an uncanny quiet. Smoke drifted in thin ribbons across the battleground as disabled Zyrax warriors lay scattered among broken ruins, toppled columns, and scorched patches of hybrid soil. Above, billions of viewers across the galaxy watched in disbelief, transmitting stunned messages through every communication channel imaginable. The trial meant to humiliate humanity had become a demonstration none of them had expected. And General Vorkaz Thalrun had reached his breaking point. The massive warlord stormed through the entry arch with his halberd crackling in his grip. Rage radiated off him like heat. Each step echoed with weight that shook the metallic floor panels. Enough of this farce! He roared. His voice shook dust loose from the upper rafters. Sergeant Marcus Hale stood at the center of the field, steady and unhurried. His suit bore scuffs and superficial burns, but he looked composed. The moment Vorkaz entered, Hale adjusted his stance, not out of fear, but preparation. In the observation gallery, Ambassador Alara Miles rose from her seat. Her pulse sharpened, though her face remained a mask of control. Vorkaz pointed the halberd at Hale. You disgraced this trial with tricks and shadows. Face me. Warrior to warrior. If humanity is proud, prove it now. Hale rolled his shoulders once. Was waiting for you to show up. The warlord snarled and charged. The ground trembled as Vorkaz covered the distance in seconds. His first swing cut the air with enough force to tear through a steel beam. Hale dodged, sliding across loose gravel. Sparks shot from the halberd as it slammed into a metallic pillar, cleaving it clean in 2. Hale rose quickly, assessing the angles. Vorkaz pressed again, sweeping the halberd in a low arc aimed to split the Marine's legs. Hale leapt backward, landing on uneven stone, keeping his balance through practiced focus. You run, Vorkaz hissed, advancing with relentless fury. Just like your species always does. Hale replied without raising his voice. No. I think. Vorkaz lunged. Hale sidestepped and parried the shaft with a gauntlet forearm, using leverage to redirect the weapon's momentum. The halberd skimmed past him, missing by inches, before smashing a crater into the ground. The gallery gasped in unison. Vorkaz swung upward. Hale ducked and countered with a clean strike to the warlord's ribs. The blow forced the Zyrax to stagger backward a single step, and that single step shocked the audience more than anything else had. No one had ever seen Vorkaz yield ground in a duel. He snarled, showing serrated teeth. You are nothing compared to my strength. Strength isn't the problem, Hale said. Predictability is. Vorkaz roared and rushed again. This time the strikes were faster, overhead, then sideways, then a thrust meant to impale. Hale blocked, deflected, and stepped around each attack with precision. Every movement was calculated, shaped by years of discipline. He was not fighting to survive. He was shaping the duel into something the galaxy needed to see. Hale's breathing intensified, but his focus never wavered. The warlord's final thrust came dangerously close, grazing Hale's armor and sparking against the composite plates. Hale felt the impact ripple through him, knocking him off balance. Vorka seized the opening, slamming the Marine with a shoulder strike that hurled him across a slab of broken masonry. Hale hit the ground hard, rolling twice before stopping near the ruins of a collapsed tower. Pain flared along his ribs, sharp enough to force a brief grimace. In the gallery, Ilara inhaled sharply. Vorkes advanced with thunderous steps. "Get up," he growled. "I will not kill a crawling coward." Hale pushed himself upright, slow but steady. Blood traced a thin line from the corner of his mouth. He wiped it away with the back of his hand. Then he answered, voice steady. "If you think humans are cowards, you haven't met enough of us." Vorkes roared and swung downward with full force. Hale pivoted, catching the shaft of the halberd, and used the warlord's momentum to twist the weapon aside. The blade slammed into the ground, wedged itself deep, and stuck for a brief moment, just long enough. Hale struck with a rapid series of hits, an elbow to the throat plate, a gauntlet fist to the jaw hinge, a leverage kick to the knee joint. Vorka staggered as each blow landed with surgical precision. Hale spun behind him, hooking his arm around the warlord's weapon hand and applying torque until Vorkes released the halberd with a bellow of pain. The massive weapon clattered away across the arena floor. The arena fell silent. Hale moved quickly. He swept Vorkes' legs and drove the larger warrior onto his back. Ground cracking beneath the impact. Hale pinned him, one knee on the warlord's chest plate, one arm pressed against his throat, applying enough pressure to prove control without causing lethal damage. Vorkes thrashed, but the Marine held firm. After several strained seconds, the Zyrak's resistance faltered. His limbs slowed. His breath rasped through clenched fangs. His pride fought harder than his muscles, but defeat pressed against him like a full weight. Hale spoke quietly, not with gloating, but finality. "Yield." Vorkes struggled, but the fight had drained from him. The warlord's voice cracked with fury and unwilling truth. "I yield." The announcer drone's tone shifted instantly. Combat trial ended. Victory awarded to the Terran representative. The arena erupted, not with cheers, but stunned disbelief. In the gallery, Ilara stood straighter. She waited until all eyes fell on her before she spoke through the amplified channel. "This is the measure of humanity," she declared. "We do not seek spectacle. We do not chase glory. We fight with purpose. If you believe this Marine is exceptional, let me correct you." She let silence sharpen her next words. "He is standard." A collective ripple of shock swept the chamber. Even Zyrak warriors bowed their heads, acknowledging the truth none could deny. The Concord judges conferred briefly, almost ceremonially, before issuing the final ruling. The Zyrak Dominion's accusation was nullified, and a mandatory non-aggression treaty would be drafted immediately. The threat of war collapsed under the weight of a single duel. As the arena barriers lowered, Ilara made her way to Hale, who stood examining the fading sparks from Vorkes' halberd. "You performed exactly as required," she said. Hale shrugged lightly. "He hit hard. You hit smarter." He allowed a small breath of humor. "I guess the display was adequate." She glanced at the stunned audience still whispering among themselves. "Adequate might be an understatement." Guards escorted Vorkes away. Even in defeat, his eyes glimmered with something dangerous: resentment, pride, and perhaps a seed of grudging respect. Hale turned toward the exit. "They'll hesitate before challenging us again." "That hesitation," Ilara said softly, "is tomorrow's peace." Later, aboard the Terran transport, Hale sat by a window overlooking the endless scatter of stars. He rested a hand over his bruised ribs, watching the quiet expanse. "One Marine," he murmured, almost amused. And across the galaxy, new whispers spread, different from the ones before. Never corner a human. Never measure them by numbers. Never underestimate one Marine. Because one was enough.